All right, hey, good morning. This is Magnus with BubbleWraps.net, back with another install video. This time it is the install of the interior dashboards for SuperChexx Dome. And this is going to be the full 360-degree dashboards that run the full perimeter of the rink. Real quick, just some surface prep for your dome. I personally like to take the pre-existing stickers off. I've removed all the pre-existing stock stickers on this. There's no reason to put your new decals over those. I think they'll adhere better to the Lexan of the dome anyway. Little tip here, what I do, I take them off, and then what I do, at least on my ice, when I install my ice wrap, I actually put the stickers on the underside of the ice wrap, nice and flat, so they stay adhered out of the way. You don't lose them if you ever want to, go back to stock on your checks to sell it or change themes or whatever. When you do it, make sure, you keep them, clear of the tracks, so you don't impede the movement of your players. But you can get, all 4, 5, 6 stickers stuck to the inner side of your ice, and you won't lose them, and they'll stay nice and undamaged. Only other thing I do in preparation, a little prep work here, I just, take a rag, especially if you've used any kind of polish or pledge, especially to polish your dome. And that wax makes it a little harder for the decals to stick. So I just take it dry in a free cloth and just wipe off the area first where the interior dashers are gonna go, just to get some of that excess wax, if there is any, and also any dust or dirt. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does help the decals. For my interior dashers, full 360 dashers, they come in 4 sections. There's kind of an attacking left-hand side, attack zone right-hand side, defend zone left-hand side, defend zone right-hand side. And they're all a little bit long. You notice there's a little red line in each of them, enough that you can overlap the red lines just a little bit. And also correspondingly on the far end, they're actually a little bit long, so you'll have some overlap. That gives you a little bit of leeway to space things out as you need to and get them aligned correctly. So I've already got 1/4 of the dashers put over here. So we're gonna do the defend zone, in my case, right-hand side. So I'm gonna peel off the appropriate sticker. Get the rest out of the way, and obviously you've got the yellow kick plate, and then you've got the red, black, whatever the color is, top caps. So when aligning these, I do 1 of 2 things. In this case, I've already put the exterior dome stickers on, so you can see the gray outline of those. I'm not sure if it shows up in the video, but you can see a nice defined line where the top of the outer dome sticker is applied. So obviously we're gonna wanna match that up with the interior zone dashboard decals as well, so you don't, so they're nice and even. You don't see the gray of the backing of the, decal material, or white, depending on the vinyl, showing through the other side. So we're gonna wanna line those up. So I'm gonna start, this is the ribbon side. Obviously you see the ribbon for the scoreboard. I like to find the center of the ribbon. In most cases, it's gonna be where the little text is printed. But if not, measure the center of your ribbon. That's obviously gonna be where the center of your red line goes. And you'll see in this case, there is gonna be a little overlap of the red line, which is fine. I'll overlap it as needed. Right about there. I'm gonna start from the center, and I'm gonna work my way around this dome. So all I'm doing is just kind of looking at the top here. I'm just gonna align the top edge for now. We'll worry about the rest of it later. Just give it a nice little light pressing down, working my way around the dome. And I'm just trying to align as best as I can the top edges of those stickers, the inside with the outside. And you'll notice it isn't going to lay flat initially very well. It's a perfectly rectangular square sticker, and you've got a curve for the dome, plus the outside of the dome kind of flares out a little bit. So it's not a perfectly square or rectangular surface we're adhering it to, so it isn't going to lie perfectly flat when you first do this. But we'll correct that later, and then I take a little trial and error here to get it how you need it. And like I said, this vinyl isn't so terribly tacky that you can't lift up and reposition as you go, so it does take a little bit of trial and error. But eventually you're going to get it pretty close. Such that the top of your interior decal wraps all the way around. And that is going to meet up eventually with your other sticker. So, all right, so I've got the top edge pretty well aligned. And you'll notice that it's not quite stuck here at the bottom. It's not quite stuck there at that end, and we'll get that later. There's actually some stretch in this vinyl, so as we work this in, it'll actually stretch a little bit and conform. But once we get that first down, now we can trim what we need to. You notice this edge with the kick plate, there's a little excess material here, which again is done on purpose so you can get it right up against the kick plate and then trim what you don't need. And for trimming everything, nice sharp, fresh blade, pen knife, X-Acto pen knife works best. You can do it with a box cutter or something like that, but if the finer the blade and the sharper the point, actually it makes it a little bit easier, so I highly recommend picking up one of these. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to cut the edge of my ribbon. Now some people just want to cut this whole center red line section out and they just leave the ribbon exposed. You certainly can do that. I like seeing a little bit of the red line, so my first cut is just going to be along the edge of the ribbon, obviously being careful not to cut the ribbon itself. There, all right, got the first cut there, so I'm just going to tuck. There's the red line section. I'm just going to adhere that to the ribbon, and the rest is just tucked in flat against the dome. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to want to trim the area where the pre-installed plastic kick plate overlaps the yellow pre-printed dashboard material. So you'll notice you'll get to a point where the kick plate ends and where the yellow obviously on the sticker continues on. So we're going to want to make a little incision there so that where the kick plate ends, find the corner there, make a little cut, trim it as necessary. All right, there we go. So now we've got the full kick plate on the sticker starts, where the yellow pre-installed piece of the kick plate ends. So that's the purpose of that cut. So now what we're going to do, we're going to want to trim the excess yellow on this. I mean, you could fold it down over, but you're going to see a seam and the yellow isn't going to quite match. So what I like to do is I like to trim all the excess. So in order to do that, first, all I'm going to do is take that sticker and I'm just going to crease it. I'm just going to use my fingernail, kind of crease the decal so it sticks all the way to where the top of that plastic kick plate starts. Go back and forth several times. There we go. Once it's nice and in place, then I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife again, and I'm just going to very carefully try and slide that blade just down, kind of going parallel with the top of the kick plate. Just kind of slide it along that sticker. So the blade's actually going in between the decal and slightly underneath the top of that kick plate, so you get a nice clean cut. All right, should be pretty good. All right, there's my removed piece of excess kick plate, which again, the pre-installed yellow kick plate kind of takes the place of that. And that's done. We'll rest that all down so it sticks nicely. All right, now we got to work on these corners. So I don't know if you can see very well, but there's, from about here down in this corner, is not stuck flat to my dome. Again, just because it's a rectangular square sticker and kind of a flared dome. So you may have to reposition a little bit as you go, but with a lot of these vinyls, like I said, there is some stretch in them. So I found that if you just kind of keep good pressure on it, and you just kind of start rolling back and forth over it, you'll eventually stretch that vinyl out enough that it'll stretch just enough to go ahead and lay down flat. And again, doing this doesn't, be, I don't want to say distortion's too severe of a word, but there's enough stretch in the material that it's you're not gonna notice it in any of the printing on the decals. So I just start working back and forth over this corner. Yeah, I might get a few little wrinkles that pop up. You can use your finger, work those out towards the top. One thing you can do with this on the vinyl too is if you have a little hair dryer, use that hair dryer with one hand, heat up that corner. That'll help the vinyl to stretch a little bit. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's not. And I'm just going back and forth here. I haven't really done anything to the top of my sticker. It's stayed flush with the top. And all I'm doing this back and forth as I'm just stretching out that vinyl. Just enough that it's gonna stretch out enough to finally stick to that radius of the dome. So, what I generally find is you'll do this, it'll stick, and go start working on another section. Maybe it'll have relaxed a little bit and peel back off. So, come back, do it again. And then in fact, for a couple days, sometimes when I put the dome back, when I'm all done, I'll leave the bolts out of it. And that way I can lift the dome up and kind of just periodically do this for a few days, and just till that vinyl is good and stretched out. Another thing that is helpful if you have one, I have a little felt tip squeegee here, and you can also use that to, nothing with a sharp edge or a hard plastic edge or anything. You don't want to scratch the decal with this little felt tip thing. If you have one of those laying around, getting that parallel around. Dashboard sticker, and that'll get it nice and flat. And again, in 5-10 minutes, some of this will peel up again. I'll hit it again, rub it down, and eventually that decal will stay nice and stretched out, and you shouldn't have any more problems with it once it finally adheres, and you can put your dome down and put the bolts back in. But anyway, so that's one of the two of the four on this check. So I've got the right side done. I'm gonna do the left side, so just the same on the other four sides. And again, up here there is some there's enough. You can see this right here is the center point of the dome, so there's a little excess material, so you can either trim it at the end or it's thin enough vinyl. I just let the next one overlap, and you're not going to see the seam because it's going to be behind the ramp here behind your goal, and you're really not going to see it. But that is, in a nutshell, install of the 360-degree interior dashboard wrap.